Today we're going to be working some wrestling skills, specifically getting to a chest to back connection. So beating our partner's head, using collar ties and stuff like this to connect our chest to their back, and using that to get our scoring opportunities. First thing, if my partner's kind of standing too straight up, it doesn't really make much sense for me to come up to a collar tie right away. I feel like I'm opening up a lot of space and I'm getting out of position by reaching so far up to his head. If we were both in a wrestling stance, here it makes more sense for me to go for a collar tie right, because I'm not really breaking my position as much. So my partner's kind of upright, so I think, all right, from here, getting a collar tie doesn't really make much sense. So instead, I'm going to fight for an inside tie here. I could reach for a shoulder. As he addresses this grip, I could come up here to an inside tie, right? Now from here, I'm thinking about getting my elbow inside of his bicep here and pushing in and getting control of his other wrist. So the idea is I'm fighting to get back to this position where I'm controlling here. And now to get chest to back, I'm going to bring this hand up. I'm not going to hang out here for very long. I'm just going to bring it up for a quick second. I'm going to come up high by the top of his head, and I'm going to quickly flick his head down and cover his neck with my shoulder here, right? I get to my inside tie. However, I get there and I start pressuring forward. I'm going to come really quickly to the top of the head, flick it down, cover, and now I'm pushing in. If I pull and he pulls, I lose him. So as soon as I cover him, I need to push, drive forward. And now as he drives back, I think about trying to get him down to his elbows and to his knees. We're going to get to our inside tie and our wrist on the other side, and we're going to start pressing forward, right? My partner is going to meet my pressure. So I'm pressuring forward, but we're no longer moving because he's meeting my pressure. I'm going to come up, quickly snap the top of his head, cover, press forward. Now again, I'm pressing forward and we're not moving because he's pressing back. When I feel this back pressure, I'm going to come off to the side. I'm going to pull on this tricep down at an angle. He won't always go to his side like that. Most good guys will just go right there. But obviously he's weak, frail. So I'm coming here, pushing forward, coming to the side, getting that snap down. Now we're going to look at a situation where my partner is in more of a wrestling stance. We're more kind of head to head here. So it makes a bit more sense to go for a collar tie right away. Again, from here I can kind of climb up and get his wrist and get to my collar tie more systematically. I can post on his head and slide off to a collar tie. It doesn't really matter. The point is his head is low, so it makes sense to get a collar tie. In order to keep this collar tie, there's a few ways that he's going to look to pommel to fight out of it. One is to fight inside and get his own collar tie. If I feel this, I just close my elbow inside, and he can't really fight inside anymore. The other thing he's going to do is he's going to grab my elbow pass, like that, right? So if I feel him coming inside, so fighting inside, my elbow comes in. If I see him grabbing my elbow, I know elbow pass is coming, so I pull my head to this side of his head. Now there's no elbow pass. My head is here, elbow pass, easy. As soon as I feel this hand on the elbow, I'm thinking pulling my head to this side. Now there's no elbow pass, okay? So just so you can keep the collar tie long enough to work with it, you need to be able to keep him from fighting inside, keep him from elbow passing. I might fight for this wrist just so he doesn't have another tool to hang on to me, right? So I'm controlling this wrist. And one thing that's very common here is people will hang on by going thumb block over the top of my collar tie. Yeah, people will annoy me with this. So I'm going to think about using my head to whack it off while I have that collar tie, right? So I'm here, he's thumb blocking over the top. Again, I switch to like the top of his head, so I'm pressuring in, he's pressuring back. I switch to the very top of his head, so I have a lot of leverage. And as I pull the head down, I bring my ear to my shoulder, and I scrape it back, knocking this hand off. And now same thing, I can snap down, cover, push forward, pull, get him down, and from here, you have all sorts of options. He's low enough so collar tie makes sense. As soon as I come in, he goes thumb block over the top. I think about pushing forward, getting that pushback reaction. See how I'm like, I can wave hello? I'm not like tight here. This helps me get momentum. So I'm kind of with a collar tie up here. I go to the top of the head. I yank it down as I use the side of my face to hit his wrist and cover. Before you try it, try this. Just go thumb block with no collar tie. So I don't have a collar tie yet. Just feel this. Sometimes you go too low, you miss it. Sometimes you go too high, you miss it. So feel this a few times, just finding the exact spot right on his wrist, knocking it off, knocking it off. Now, when you add the collar tie, my partner's low enough to where it makes sense for me to get a collar tie, and I'm always looking to control this other arm in some sort of way so he doesn't have two things that he can hang on to me with, right? If I can control this hand and I can control his neck, he can only hang on to me with this hand in several ways. So we just looked at how to get rid of a thumb block. Now we're going to get rid of a drape. So a drape is when he goes over the top of my bicep. Sometimes they come near your elbow and they kind of weigh down. Sometimes they come closer to your throat and kind of push on your throat a bit. It doesn't really matter. We're going to do the same technique from both. So again, we're low enough that it makes sense to get a collar tie. I get my collar tie. I get my wrist grip, and he's draping over the top. Now, even if I get this good grip on the top of his head, I'm trying to snap him down, he can hold on with this. But the good thing is, the only thing he's holding on to is this. So if I drop this, he doesn't have a connection to me anymore. So anytime I feel this drape, all I'm going to do is rather than pulling just with this hand, I'm going to initiate a pull with this hand. I'm going to drop it and get my other hand over the top. This one's pretty simple, pretty tricky, works really well. They go over the top, I just start pulling, I drop this hand, and come over the top with this hand. I can go drag, all sorts of options there, that's up to you. We're just working on that initial hand fighting sequence to get chest to back. I'm kind of pulling, and for a lot of these snaps, like even the thumb block, I don't need to get the thumb block all the way off. All I need to do is pull on the very top of his head for 1 quick second, so I'm not like, I don't get a collar tie and I start like pulling. Like that's not the idea. The idea is I'm constantly pushing forward and then I hit a quick little tug on the top of the head, and it just has to be enough for me to see the nape of his neck. As soon as I see the nape of his neck, I can just pounce on it and come on top, right? So I wouldn't want to like raise my shoulder up and like jump to a front headlock. I could get like ducked and all sorts of stuff when I go like that. I don't want to get out of position. But if I can get his head lower than my armpit, there's no reason why I could just not slide over, right? So all the variations, you don't even need to do the full one. Like for example, against the thumb block, you just get it low enough to cover, and that's good enough. So if you notice, all the moves we did till now, regardless of what his posture is, regardless of whether I'm hanging onto an inside tie or a collar tie, I was controlling this second hand to keep him from connecting to me. Now, if he ever keeps his hand kind of too far away from me and I feel like I would be getting out of position to go out and reach it, you can always just come up and grab the tricep and just pull that tricep, right? So you don't necessarily need the wrist. But regardless of whether we're here or we're here, if we notice this hand ever coming up and reaching toward us, whether it's for a thumb block or a collar tie or whatever, we can time this reach, post under the elbow, take a bit of a split step here, and pull him past us for a sick duck. So anytime we're setting up any of these snap downs, we can look for that opportunity of him reaching with that hand as a good opportunity to go post and duck. I could also do this in situations where we're jousting for wrist grips and he grabs my wrist. Now since he has my wrist, I have an opportunity again. I take a little bit of a split step, I pull, and I turn on my knee. So how that looks is I go from my stance, I level change by splitting my stance, I explode off of this foot, pivot on this knee, and end up facing 180 degrees that way. This doesn't work that well when I have wrist control, because I feel like when I have wrist control and I try to open this up, he's more willing to keep it tight, right? I try to open this up, he's keeping it tight. But if he's controlling my wrist, I feel like this is way more conducive to me being able to open this up. So if he's controlling my wrist, same thing, level change, split step, open it up, pull him past me, pivot around. If you guys forget all the technique that we went over today, just remember one thing. If I want to get chest to back on my partner, I can't be like grabbing the base of his neck and pulling and pulling and pulling. I need to push, get a push back, and find a way to tug on the top of his head for a little bit. That's all I need. And then as soon as I can see his neck, I'm not trying to pull him down. I'm continuing to push forward. If I get here and I'm pulling down, see, he slips. So as soon as I expose this, I'm not pulling, I'm pushing, driving forward. And now when he meets my pressure, I can think about pulling him. But a constant pull will just make you guys disengage. All right, let's get some rounds in. 1, 2, 3.